So welcome to Special Collections at Dartmouth College Library here in Hanover. My name is Morgan Swan. I'm the Education and Outreach Librarian for Special Collections. And one cool thing about Special Collections here is that we are open to the public, so we are a resource for the community. You can just walk in off the street, have 5 minutes to kill and say, show me something cool. And we'll probably ask you what you think is cool, but then be assured we'll find something cool for you to look at. You can just have a look at it here in the reading room, flip through it. And today I've got two really cool things for you. The first one is one we used in the class this week. This is the, I love this. This is it's a transcript, so it's a written out version of an audio reel tape that was made in 1975, and it was made of a meeting that happened in Las Vegas between four men who were trying to hash out the script for what would become Superman and Superman 2, both starring Christopher Reeves. And so the quick backstory here is that two men, Ilya Salkind and Pierre Spengler, I may be mispronouncing those, they bought the production rights to Superman, and they were going to make this amazing movie. It was going to be very campy, sort of like the Batman film that had come out in 1966 and been very successful. And they were like, well, who should we get to write this? Who should do the screenplay? Let's get Mario Puzo. So they decided they were going to enlist the help of the author of and the screenwriter for The Godfather. And so they got Mario Puzo in the room, and then they also had to have some representation from DC Comics. So they had Carmine Infantino, who was the publisher of DC Comics at the time. So these four guys got their heads together in Vegas and started to figure out, okay, like what's this movie going to be about? We got to make this script. It's going to last for 2 movies. It's a 2-movie script, and some of the things they say here are just hilarious. I just start giggling every time I read these. Things like, okay, like how are we're gonna end the first movie with the explosion of an atom bomb, but then we've got to switch to the Pope, and you're like, okay, well, how's the Pope? It's like, we have to have an underwater thing. By then Jaws will be played out, so we can have some sharks. Yeah, we got to get sharks in there. It's just this crazy sort of stream of consciousness transcript where these guys are trying to figure out how they can suck the audiences in. A couple of really interesting things too that shed some light on the philosophy of movie making back then is they get into a discussion about well, how long should a movie be? Right? How long is too long? And some of them say, well, you know, if we keep going the way it is, it's going to be like 2.5 hours. That's a lot of time. And then someone else says, yeah, well, you can't go past 2 hours and 15 minutes if you want to hold the attention of the 7 and 8-year-olds who are going to be in the audience. I thought that was especially fascinating given, you know, there's a recent movie that I think clocked in at just about 3 hours that definitely had 7 and 8-year-olds in the audience. And it's clear just from reading this, the exuberance, the excitement they have about this project, but also just like the sort of hard as nails practicality of the bringing to it in terms of you know, how much money are they going to need, how long should it be, where should the climaxes in the 2 films be, and also even who the director should be. There's at one point they mention one guy and they say, well, is he still doing it? No, he's out. Well, why? He's too intellectually artistic, too much direction, right? So they mention someone else and they say, yeah, but he's really old and this is going to be like a really physically demanding film. Like he did that movie like 30 years ago. Is he even going to be able to like go on set? So all in all, just a fascinating picture or window into the minds of these guys. Several of whom were very accomplished at what they did. Ultimately, this movie, it would go on to get a complete rewrite. Mario Puzo did two versions and sort of said, hey, that's what I can do. That's what I got. And from then, they moved on from then to try to give it to, they brought in Tom, I think Mankiewicz, I'm not sure about that name exactly. They brought someone in to rewrite the entire thing. They brought in a new director, Bob Donner, who I believe had just come off success with The Exorcist. And he wanted to do this very high concept, you know, very, very successful, high quality film. And so he and the producers were essentially at odds, I think, for the rest of the filming of the movie, specifically because he wouldn't commit to this campy, over-the-top kind of style. So anyway, we're really fortunate here at Rauner to have the Mario Puzo papers. So we have screenplays for all 3 Godfather films, as well as information related to the Superman movie, at least the first one. So this is something cool you guys can come in, if you want to come into. You can see this typewriter. We've got Mario Puzo's typewriter. Any of that, you can come in and just say, hey, I want to see this cool thing from the Puzo collection, and we'll let you see it. The other thing that I want to show you, and this one is also sort of a sort of international celebrity vibe, but it also brings it home to northern New England because it has a Brattleboro, Vermont connection. This is the last novel written by Charles Dickens. And the way Charles Dickens used to write, if any of you have ever read a Charles Dickens novel, you may think, man, this is a long thing. The reason why is because he was getting paid by the word, right? So what he would do is he would publish these little pamphlets would come out that held one chapter right in the middle, and then the front and the back were just filled with advertising, right? And so he could drag this out over like a year and a half. Right, so one chapter a month. You had to wait, a year and a half to get the final chapter, and then in the back he would include information like the title page and the preface and that sort of thing, so you could then take it and have it turned into a real book. But Dickens was really notorious for not having written the entire novel in advance. He was just kind of spinning it as he went. So what happened? He got about 7 chapters in. I think it's 6 chapters into The Mystery of Edwin Drood. And this is in 1870. And then he dropped dead of a stroke 6 chapters in June of 1870, I believe. And so, he was hugely popular, very successful. And people were clamoring for, oh no, like what are we gonna do, right? Because he did not have a plan, or at least not one that he'd written down. So it's very possible that that's where the story could have ended, and no one would have gotten the closure they wanted on this last novel of Dickens. Thankfully, though, here we have The Mystery of Edwin Drood complete. We have the finished book, the entirety of it. It's published by Thomas P. James in 1873, 3 years after Dickens' death, in Brattleboro, Vermont. I think there are like 3 copies of this left in the world, this book. And in it, the way that the book gets finished is that it's finished by the spirit pen of Charles Dickens through a medium. So there's sort of the seance moment where Charles Dickens sort of inhabited a medium, and then with his hand through this earthly person, wrote out the rest of his story because he didn't want his audience to be disappointed. Just coincidence, of course, that the medium also happened to be the publisher, Thomas James. But there's this great, there's a medium's preface where he says, well, some people are just, really like judgy and try to cast aspersions on me, and I'm just an uneducated man. I'm just the vessel, through which Charles Dickens is speaking. And then you have the author's preface, where Dickens explains, hey, I know I died, but I thought I should really finish this thing. Hey, everybody, you'll be glad to know there's no such thing as hell. Whew. So anyway, and then we go on to have about 20, wow. We've got about 43 chapters. So, adding on about 37 to the original 6 there. And what's great is in the preface, from the spirit world, he announces that, don't worry, I've already got the first chapter of the next book is already done, titled The Life and Adventures of Bockley Wickleheap. All right, so I don't know if that one ever got finished or if Dickens got bored and started enjoying the afterlife too much, but here's another really cool, kind of wild text that we have heard around her with a Brattleboro connection. So anyway, these are the 2 cool things that I have for you, or actually really 3 cool things I have for you today. Again, my name is Morgan Swan. I'm the Special Collections Education and Outreach Librarian at Dartmouth College Library. As members of the community, you're welcome to come in anytime you'd like to see anything in the library. Say, I want to see something cool, or you can say, I want to see that specific cool thing that was on YouTube or CATV, and we'll go get it for you. Thanks for being here.